Now we are going to be looking into digital world. It has become a thing. It's the future and the reality of today. But how does that actually marry into the freight logistics industry? Now here in Uganda, freight logistics industry comprises of trade and transport infrastructure, and that includes roads, railways, inland marine port facilities, storage. It includes warehouses and also bonded facility operators. That is particular to customs and other border agencies. It also has an element of financial services and ICT service providers, as well as ICT infrastructure. And of course, the government has to come in there somewhere, somehow. But logistics is the backbone of any economy today. And this was especially highlighted with the COVID-19 pandemic, when there was a standstill in the entire world. There was limitation to everything that was supposed to be delivered from one place to another, one end of the world to the other end of the world. But despite that fact, Africa in itself is still a decade behind in terms of developed regions in logistics as well as technology. Now this morning we are joined by Charles Thou, who's the founder and CEO Apex Loads. Good morning to you, Charles.
Good morning.
You're most welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so talking about the pandemic having brought realities to ground to us, how important technology is in connecting the world. Let's talk about technology and connecting the world of logistics. But first question is, which is the most developed region in terms of development and logistics, and what has that influenced on their capacity as an economy?
So if you look at all the developments, it's usually in the West, right? So a lot of it, you're looking at the US, the UK. That's where almost most of the innovations happen in logistics and all areas, right? So if you're looking at logistics, for instance, in the US, so if you look at like North America, so Mexico, Canada, and the US, because those two regions, they trade the most, right? But at the same time, the key thing is that they have a standard. Like all the people in logistics speak the same language. That's why it's so easy for people in Mexico to trade with people in the US and people in Canada, simply because you have that process, right? Because logistics is simply a process. It's the process of matching freight with the truck, right? Let's say like here in Uganda, if let's say you're shipping eucalyptus to Mombasa, you need a flatbed or a skeleton truck. That's all logistics is. And to improve any process, you have to standardize it and then refine it. And that's why technology is very key to making that process far more efficient.
Okay. Now, Apex Loads has positioned themselves as the matchmaker in this industry. Let's look at East Africa. Where do we stand in terms of technology adoption into what you have referred to, especially logistics, and what's the transformative power of it?
So right now in East Africa in general, people are now, technology is becoming more accessible. Let's say like 5 years ago, not that many people had smartphones, but now almost everybody has a smartphone. So if you look at like Africa in general, so you can say like 67% of the population is now online, which makes digital adoption far more likely. But it's still a new thing. So if you compare developed markets such as the US to East Africa, you can say generously Africa is at least like 10 or 15 years behind as far as logistics, technology in logistics is concerned. And that's our main mission at Apex Load, is that we're trying to close that gap. Because if you look at logistics, the good thing about logistics is that it's universal. Whether you're doing logistics in the US, whether you're doing logistics in Kenya or Uganda, it's the same thing. You still have the main players. You have the shippers, you have the freight forwarders, you have the brokers, and you have the transporters. So the relationships are the same. The vehicles may be different, cargo may be different, but at the basic level, it still involves moving something from point A to point B, right? So the solutions that are working in the US can work in Africa, and that's really the bridge that we're trying to cross. Like, now really, we don't have to reinvent the wheel, right? So we simply have to adopt what's already working and introduce it in Africa.
Okay,
Yeah.
so the solutions are there. However, let's focus on Uganda. First of all, we do have the connectivity issue here in Uganda, and then let's talk about the endless delays that happen at the borders, especially where you do have the ocean. So getting your goods from the ocean right to Kampala is difficult enough. So you also have hard to reach players in the industry. So how do you intend to merge those so that you can help bring appreciation to tech solutions in the industry?
So whenever we came up with the idea of Apex Low, so the first thing that we had to do was do what you call customer discovery. You know, before you invest time and resources in a product, you have to make sure, like, go talk to your potential customers to see if this is something that they might need. And when we realized, like I said, like, let's take for instance Uganda. Uganda is landlocked, right? So all their imports and exports have to go through either Mombasa or Dar es Salaam, right? So you always have that issue where you have a lot of trucks from Mombasa or Dar es Salaam that bring the import to Uganda, but they cannot find something going back. But one interesting fact is that Uganda also has a lot of exports, you know, like eucalyptus, you know, grain, you know, all these products that they are also trying to export and also take to Uganda and Tanzania. So what we realized that you will go to like a truck park and meet a cargo owner, maybe like a broker, and their biggest complaint is that they have so much cargo, but they can't find trucks. And then you go from Mbarara to Natete and find a transporter who maybe has 1 or 2 trucks. And their biggest complaint is that, like, there's so many trucks on the road, but we can't find cargo. So what we realize is that there's plenty of cargo and there's plenty of trucks. The issue is that these guys can't find each other. And that's the niche that we're trying to focus. So what we do, what our platform does, so our solution is a platform. So it gives them a platform where they can go meet. So for instance, if you're a cargo owner, and what I mean by a cargo, you know, is not like who the cargo belongs to. As far as the transporter is concerned, the cargo owner means who is giving me the cargo and who is paying me, right? So if I'm getting cargo from a broker, that broker is the cargo owner because he's the one giving it to me and he's the one who's going to pay me. If I'm getting the cargo from a freight forwarder, same thing. If I'm getting cargo directly from a shipper, so they are all cargo owners, right? So if you're a cargo owner, so on Apex Load, we give you key functionalities. So where you can go on Apex Load and post your cargo. Say I have cargo going from Kampala, going back to Mombasa, I need a flatbed and this is how much I'm paying. And at the same time, you can search for trucks. So let's say you need a flatbed. So you can go on Apex Load and search, hey, I need to search for flatbeds in Kampala. And also at the same time, you can track that cargo in real time. You know, whenever, if you use any digital platforms like Uber or Uber Eats and you order, you can see where the driver is. So we also have that functionality on the platform. And then the transporters on the other side are people who have vehicles for hire. And their main objective is to find cargo. So then we give them a set of functionalities as well. So they can go on Apex Loads and search for cargo. And they can also post the available trucks. So you can see how those two groups are fitting each other, right? Cargo owners can post cargo, transporters can search for cargo. Transporters can post the available trucks, and cargo owners can search for the available trucks. So essentially what we're trying to do is that the same way Uber and Bolt transform the taxi industry. Right now, if you need a ride, you don't need to go to where the taxis are. You just get on your phone and order a taxi. So we're trying to do the same transformation to the logistics industry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Talk to us about the real-time tracking that you have mentioned and its benefits in terms of reducing the time and cost of transportation.
So the biggest thing about logistics is credibility, because some of this cargo is high value. Some of this cargo is worth more than the truck that it's used to carry. So you always have this issue about like credibility and trust. And unfortunately, in Africa right now, we do not have a regulating body that regulates logistics, you know, so you can be able to verify the people that you're working with, which is also something that we'll also be working on. But whenever it comes to regulation, you have to involve the ministry and all that kind of stuff because it has to be enforced. But now, as a private company, what we can do is provide information. Like for instance, let's say if you're trying to secure your cargo, so the only option that is available right now is to put a GPS tracker on the truck. But sometimes those are expensive. But what we're doing that with Apex Load is that like the driver who is driving our cargo has the app on their platform, so you'll be able to track where the driver is or where your cargo is. Of course, the assumption is that where the driver is, that's where your cargo is. But if you can see that, it's really easy to track. You know, if somebody is going to Nairobi and they're heading to Dar es Salaam, they're like, hey, what's happening here? Or if somebody has stopped somewhere for too long, you'll be able to do that. And it also helps with the coordination. So because so you can coordinate with the receiver, and I can say, oh hey, I see the truck is Malaba, so it should be there in a couple hours. So it removes the need for check calls and all that kind of stuff, right? And another thing that we're trying to do to facilitate that trust is that providing information. For instance, if you're trying to find like a hotel, most of the time that you look at the reviews. So we do have that two-way rating system. Okay. That way, if you work with a bad transporter and you write a review on them, we'll be able to track that. That way, other people on the platform are aware.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
So finally, how can the local, tracker and the cargo owner gain access to such technology? So
the technology is available. We've done a lot of work to develop it and make it as simple as possible to use. So all you have to do is go on our website, so apexloads.com, one word, and you can use it. If you're in an office setting, if you're a broker, you're probably going to be in an office setting, so you can use the platform on the website, and you can also download the app. So we do have the Android and the iOS, so you simply download the app. And if you want to see a demo about how to use Apex Load, you can go on YouTube and just search Apex Loads, one word, and you'll be able to see a demo, what Apex Load is doing, how to use Apex Loads. But like simplicity is the ultimate sophistication, right? So we made the app simple, simple enough. If you can use Facebook, if you can use WhatsApp, you can use Apex Loads.
Okay, Omar. Yeah. Thank you so much, Charles. That's founder and CEO of Apex Loads, which you can actually download in case you are in that industry and interested in this nature of technology. Just check out their website, and also you can just download that app and it will sort you